I'm a hardcore unemployable.
That's hilarious.
Whether it's a severe AD or I'm someplace on the spectrum, the bottom line is I can't follow other people's lead, right? In other words, if there's a routine set in place, I can't follow it unless I created that routine.
Yep.
Right? And if I create the order, then it makes sense to me. If somebody else creates the order, I'm lost. I can't function like that. So in essence, I'm hardcore unemployable.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of I Fired Myself. My name is Scott Armstrong. Very excited to be here with you today. Got a fantastic episode with Uncle Tony from the massive YouTube channel, Uncle Tony's Garage. Buddy of mine here in Tennessee. Fantastic episode. Really excited for you guys to check this out. If you want to learn more and get more involved, we have a school community. Make sure you join that below. Just click the link, and it's a free community, and it's going to be packed with all kinds of resources for entrepreneurs, how to start a business. So the school community is called How to Be an Entrepreneur, and we're going to get on this journey together. So without further ado, enjoy the show. All right, everybody, I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be a fantastic episode. I'm here with my friend Uncle Tony. He's got a massive YouTube channel, Uncle Tony's Garage. He does all kinds of cool stuff on there, so make sure you go check it out. And as I was setting up this show, well, first of all, Tony, welcome. How you doing, man?
What's happening, Scott?
So
you look different when you're not climbing around on my roof.
I know, exactly. So if you guys know, I've done a lot of work for Tony, helped him out with some roof repairs. We built him a fence, my buddy Adam and I.
Oh, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, that was really cool to come back and do some more work for you. Like, what was it, a year or two later, seeing the fence is still hanging strong.
You're my go-to guy, period. The end. I need anything done around the house.
I appreciate that. Well, it's kind of funny because I've been pivoting away from the construction and into more video marketing for construction companies, because that's where I saw this big opportunity where construction guys just suck at doing their own marketing. So I'm like, hey, let me fill that gap. So it's been awesome, man. And I basically, just to give you a little background about this, I started this show just because beginning of the year, I just immersed myself in like entrepreneurial stuff. I mean, I have for many years been kind of in the entrepreneur game, but with this new business venture, I'm like, I got to take this seriously, dude. I got to learn systems. I got to learn like customer acquisition systems. I got to do like ads to get leads and learning customer relationship management tools and all this stuff. Like, and
it's always evolving. As soon as you have one set of protocols in place, boom, here's another level.
Yep. And so I've been learning a lot, and I'm just like, and I've already got, so the focus of this show, the show is called I Fired Myself, because I lived the 9-to-5 life for so long, and I can't wait to get into your story. And my journey into entrepreneurship has just been such an eye-opening experience. And I think that when I was in the 9-to-5 life, I was like, I don't understand how, like, I see all these businesses all over town, and each one of those started with a person saying, hey, I'm going to start a business. But I had no idea how to like bridge that gap or make the leap from a 9-to-5 life to entrepreneurship. And I've done it, and I've got a lot of insights into that. And the goal of this show is to bring people on and kind of hear their backstory into entrepreneurship. And I know your story is a little different in the sense that this has just been all you know. This has been your life ever since the beginning. And so that's I'm
a hardcore unemployable.
That's hilarious.
Whether it's a severe AD or I'm someplace on the spectrum, the bottom line is I can't follow other people's lead. Right? In other words, if there's a routine set in place, I can't follow it unless I created that routine.
Yep.
Right? And if I create the order, then it makes sense to me. If somebody else creates the order, I'm lost. I can't function like that. So in essence, I'm hardcore unemployable. When I was a kid, you don't realize this about yourself until you go through the experiences and you mature. But when I was a kid, I was just angry, just like, oh, you're going to tell me what to do? Yeah, right. Well, so, and that's part of it's growing up in New York City too. But I'm just hardcore unemployable. So when I got thrown out of school when I was 16, high school, and I worked a couple of small, fast food type of jobs for like a week or two at a time. Several of them. I wouldn't even tell the story about the Burger King. No, it is bad because it's not representative of who I am today.
Sure.
Right? I'm a 16-year-old kid, right?
Sure.
but in and out of shops because I had always actually I started making money. I started my entrepreneurial, career, if you want to call it that, working on my neighbor's cars when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. The neighbor needs a starter. I'll climb under the car and put a starter in it. Neighbor needs oil change. I'll do that. Change the spark plugs. I'll do that. So I was the go-to guy when I was, a young teenager in my neighborhood for maintaining the immediate neighbor's cars. And it was an extra $5 here and $10 there and $20 there. So I always had money in my pocket where most kids my age didn't. Got tossed out of school and my parents were like, you got to go get a job. That didn't work. Absolutely did not work. So I've always hustled. And it's always been in the world of cars. Although I did take a sidetrack for several years on and off in the world of coffee houses. And that was an offshoot of coffee houses in the music business. And that was just an offshoot of my conspiratorial nature, right?
Yep.
Okay. So,
Yep. Gotcha.
What else can I tell you? I'm just always hustled. And I generally stick with a business or an endeavor, let's say, for 3, 4, 5 years. And then I get tired of it and I kind of have to reinvent myself.
Yeah.
And then start over fresh. And for me, this is the first time in my life. So I'm 63. I'm going to be 64 in a month or so. And this is the first time where I'm actually relaxing and cruising. I'm always most comfortable. And I think anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, at whatever level, you have to thrive on pressure and uncertainty. Now I'm old, I'm mature, I'm settled. Okay, so I don't really crave that uncertainty anymore. If that makes any sense. I'm not really looking for the edge anymore. I'm confident, just cruising. It's the first time in my life I've only had one gig going. I've always had a day business and a night business, and since I started doing YouTube, that's all I do is just YouTube, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's great, and you've had a lot of success with it. I mean, like I said, you guys go check it out. I mean, you got almost like 500,000 followers, dude. That's insane.
Subscriber, that's a vanity number. It really doesn't mean anything.
Hey, it's worth bragging about. It gives you leverage. It gives you leverage for all kinds of other things if you ever wanted to branch out and do other things too. So
yeah, perhaps, but I don't really look at it that way. It's my job.
Sure.
To me, it's no different than doing roofing or delivering pizzas, or it doesn't matter what it is. It's my job. I got to wake up in the morning, come up with content, post it, and then move on. The nice thing about YouTube, though, is that it allows you to, the ultimate goal with any business, any entrepreneurial endeavor, is to make money while you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Have your money working. So some people will invest in markets and whatnot to achieve that. YouTube is great because every video that you put up is gaining it's equity. Every video you put up, like I get paid for videos I put up 8 years ago. Every time somebody clicks on it, boom, there's another. It might just be a fraction of a cent, but you put together all of those, 1,500 videos, like 1,000 or 1,200 lives that we've done, and they're all constantly getting views, and some of them get 5,000 views a day, and some of them get 5 views a year. But you get enough of them out there, and you make money when you sleep.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I want to backtrack a little bit. So you were kind of doing the side hustle, maybe hobby, helping some people out around your neighborhood when you were younger with mechanic stuff. When did it click in your head that, whoa, wait a minute, this might be an actual way to support myself? And when was that realization moment for you? What was that like?
It was just flow. Like when I was a teenager, my goal, I wanted to be in drag racing. That was my thing. I was obsessed with drag racing. And I wanted to race funny cars and top fuelers and all the other stuff. I really had no interest in driving. I was always interested in the mechanical aspects of it. So my goal when I was 12, 13, 14 years old was to be a tuner, a nitro tuner, a nitro wrench, that sort of thing, crew chief. And so I guess in my mind, it was just, well, this is a stepping stone. I start doing a starter on my neighbor's Oldsmobile, and I'll just keep going until I get to where I want to be. And I eventually got there. I spent, a dozen years bouncing around in the world of blown nitro cars. Bad mistake. That was a bad mistake.
Yeah.
but we did it and we made it through. But yeah, it was never a deciding moment. It was just a natural transition, a natural flow. Kind of like when I got into magazines. So I was a magazine writer for years. And I got thrown out of school when I was 16. I have no education, no formal education whatsoever. And I was hustling, just doing repairs, car repairs. I had just got married. We had a little apartment in on Staten Island. Had my hot rod in the driveway, but no business. It was rough, right? And no source of income. It got so bad at one point that I had a Dodge Challenger, a 71 Challenger that we were using as our daily transportation. And it was on my way we had come up with enough money for a bag of rice and a thing of bouillon cubes. This is what we were living on. And it ran out of gas with that car on my way to the supermarket. And my buddy Rocco was coming up the other way, on his motorcycle. It was a little Honda. And he saw me on the side of the road, and he had wanted that car. And I says, hey, I ran out of gas. You want to swap? He says, sure. So he got the car, and he got it towed back to his place. And I got on his motorcycle with Kathy. We went to the supermarket and got our bag of rice and bouillon cubes. So that was, that was the level we were at. I was about 21 years old or thereabouts. And I said, well, let me get a job. Let's try it. Let's try a job because we'll try it again. So I went to work at a Chrysler dealer, and they hired me as just mechanic right off the bat. Didn't have to be a helper or anything. I knew my way around cars. So I lasted there 2 weeks, and I realized I can never ever have a job. So I went back. I hustled. I wheeled and dealed. Did everything I could to pay the bills. And then one day I'm walking past the TV, and I look at and there's a copy of Muscle Car magazine set on top of the television. And I said to myself, I'm going to write for the car magazines.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to. So now, mind you, I had no experience at all.
Yeah.
I had no sense of punctuation. I had no idea at all. Right. But I had a lot of experience. And at the time, I was doing a lot of street racing. So, and that helped pay the bills. So I pick up the magazine. And, they have the indicia, it shows you where the thing is published and all of that. And there was a phone number in there. And it was published in Hackensack, New Jersey. And I was on Staten Island. So it was about a 20-mile ride. So I says, I'll take a ride up there. Wait, now let me call them. So I dialed the number in there, and I says, whoever answered the phone, I says, hey, I want to write for you guys. What's the, what do we have to do? And they're like, well, what's your experience? Blah, 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 blah. I says, listen, I'm a mechanic and I'm a street racer, but I read your magazine and I think I can do better than the guys that are in there now.
Yep.
It's all right. Well, then you want to talk to the editor. So I went up, I talked to the editor. He says, okay, do you want to be the technical editor for these magazines? So I said, sure, let's do it. Right. Yep. So he hired me on the spot as the technical editor for Vet, Muscle Car, High Performance Pontiac. A couple of the titles that they were doing out of the CSK Publishing. So I became the technical editor. And then I had been, and it wasn't really a job. I got paid by the work that I did. I always rejected an hourly or a daily wage. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pay me by the work I do.
Sure.
So after a few months of doing that, reading through other people's manuscripts and making corrections, I found that I was making so many corrections. I was like, no, I'll just write this myself.
There you go.
So then I just started writing, and I was able to bang out a feature, like a full length, feature a day. And because I could write so fast and I could do it off the top of my head, because everybody else who was in that business, those automotive journalists, they were nerds. They liked cars and they went to school for journalism and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And they lived a regular, kind of clean life. And I was a dirtbag punk mechanic that just happened to have this ability to communicate. So while it would take the typical writer a week to do a feature and all of that, I could sit down and blast it off the top of my head.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So I started cranking materials and getting paid as a freelancer. I made really good money for that period of time. And then I launched my own title, which was a high performance Mopar in CSK. In other words, okay, I want to do this magazine. So I started High Performance Mopar, and that became their first magazine. First issue we put out was their bestseller ever.
Wow.
So golden child now. And I had a pet magazine called Cars Illustrated, which was utterly insane. I go back and I look at stuff that we did in that magazine, and it was really unhinged. It was really over the top.
That's awesome.
And it didn't really sell very well then, but now it's like a collector's item, and there's copies that go for $50, $100, each on like eBay. So it was that whole stepping stone, and in my mind, I didn't want to be a writer. I never wanted to be a writer. It never even crossed my mind to be a writer, but here I was being a writer. But in my mind, everything I was doing was bringing me closer to my goal of being in nitro, in professional drag racing.
Yep.
Well, during the time of doing the magazines, now I actually got to travel. I got paid to go to the races, paid to be there. And so now I was able to start networking in with the local nitro racers.
Yep.
And then I started cleaning parts and doing so I'd go to a race, an event to cover the event or do stories for the magazine. But my primary goal of being there was to actually get hands-on the cars.
Sure.
So one thing led to another, and after about 4 years doing magazines, I says done, and I'm going drag racing. And so we did that. I ran a small shop out of my house, again doing like neighbors' cars and friends' cars and whatnot, word of mouth repair, and that paid the daily bills because by that point I had 2 kids. Had to pay for the house and all of that. So I had a steady form of income through auto repair. And then I'd hit the road with the race cars, do my business there, get paid, come back. And so just constant hustle.
Yep.
Constant hustle.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, that characterizes what the entrepreneur life is all about. Like, it's like there's no safety net. You got to just figure it out as you go. And it's not for the weak, like you said. Like there's unexpected turns and curves and things that get thrown at you, and you have to expect the unexpected, be prepared for it, and be able to pivot at a split second's notice and be able to adjust or reframe whatever you need to reframe.
More than that, you have to thrive on the adversities.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. You have to look at the adversity, the thing that pops up, right, and say, yes, a challenge. Yep. You know what I mean? I will crush this challenge. And you have to approach every aspect of your life like that, or being an entrepreneur will kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's in a lot of different ways. It'll suck the life out of you. You have to go into it saying, hit me with your absolute best shot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just here you go, wide open. Give me your best shot.
Yep.
And welcome that and fight through it. And every time you find another challenge, every time every time you conquer another challenge, it gives you that much more faith in your abilities. It gives you that much more resilience and that new skill. And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. You're stacking skills. You know what I mean? And they all count. Does that make any sense?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say.
Yeah.
But so it's like, you're not going to die. You're going to probably fail. That's a big misconception that I think a lot of people have, is that they don't want to fail. Right. And that failure is the end of the world. But in this life, you have to fail. You have to fail constantly. And the goal is to fail as quickly as you possibly can, so you can overcome that challenge, learn from it, grow, and not make the same mistake, or pivot or institute a system to overcome that in the future. But the idea is that, like, failure is to be expected. I mean, I've had multiple failures. I've tried multiple business ventures. Didn't work out, but it's like you just keep going, and it's just like, I'm rooted in several skill sets that I feel like I could always fall back on because I built up those skills and all that stuff. But I'm looking for the next level. How do I get to the next level? And then all these other doors are opening up right in front of me constantly. And so it's, but a lot of that is a result of failure, trying things and just having the confidence to try something new. Even if you do fail, then it's like, okay, well, that didn't work, but what did we learn? How can we grow and pivot and maneuver out of that?
The enemy of success is ego.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's ego that gives you that fear of failure.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I tried this and I failed. You know, and that knocks most people. Whatever it happens to be, that failure knocks most people back, and they take it personally, like, oh my God, I'm not the person I thought I was. Or I'm not the person I'm an imposter, right? I'm not the real thing, and that's all ego driven, and that's what if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be successful, right, you have to go at it without expectations.
Mhm.
You say it's going to be what it's going to be. I know where I want to be, okay, but I don't expect to get there. I just have this vision, right? And that's important because flexibility is important. Um, you have to have division, but it has to be fluid, because on your journey to that final destination is going to change. It'll evolve. It'll like okay. So I wanted to be in drag racing when I was a kid, right? My whole life revolved around that desire to go nitro racing. I wanted to go nitro race funny cars, but by the time I actually got there, the day of the funny car was kind of over. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now it was and also the technology that I had been learning as much as I could on those cars. All that technology was always morphing. It was always changing. So by the time I got to it, it had changed enough that if I had stuck to that original plan, I never or the original vision, locked in. This is where I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to do. No, it would have been a waste of time. I never would have gotten anywhere out of it because the goal morphed as I was working my way to it. So you have to have an idea where you want to go, but not a firm. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But life is so funny how that works, because like when I was growing up, my dream job was to be I wanted to work in Hollywood, and I wanted to make the special effects. I wanted to be the guy that did
Okay.
because I was obsessed with like Jurassic Park when I was a kid. So I wanted to be the guy that made the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. So like actually when I graduated high school, I went to college to do multimedia design to hopefully ultimately end up in a career in Hollywood doing doing special effects. Now, that didn't work out. I didn't do too well in college, and I just partied my way and dropped out. But like looking back now, it's like, okay, first of all, thank God I didn't go to Hollywood. Like that would have been a nightmare. I would have been a
Yeah.
completely different person. I guarantee you that. Second of all, look at all the people that are in that industry now. Their jobs are going to be gone in like a
Yep.
week because of all the AI stuff, right? That the AI is doing, you could do more in 5 seconds with I could do better than like Hollywood animators now, just sitting in my room in my underwear. So those jobs are going to be gone. And now the irony is that now I'm kind of like in the movie filmmaking. I'm running my own video production company. So it's like, screw you, Hollywood. It's like, dude, it all kind of came full circle in a lot of ways, where I can now make a video with Hollywood level special effects sitting in my room, and I run a video production company. So it kind of like inadvertently came full circle and started doing what I wanted to do. But yeah, to your point, what you were saying is like, we have these dreams with these goals and these visions and these things that we're shooting for, but then it's so funny how when we get there, it's not available anymore, And so how do you manage that? How do you navigate or pivot away from that? So yeah, it's interesting.
You've always got to be flexible, and you've always just got to keep it. Yeah, and I'm telling you, the ego is the biggest problem. You have to put the ego aside and embrace failure. And it's like you never learn to walk if you didn't get tired of falling over in your crib.
Yep.
Right? It's that simple. It was those were the first failures that you had and had to overcome. And everybody goes through this, right? And that's the pattern of life. You can't learn anything new unless you fail, unless you find the question you haven't answered yet. That's how you learn. That's how your brain puts connections together. And most people they're afraid of that, but because they put their ego first, as opposed to saying, aha, the unknown, let's attack the unknown, right? That's right. Yep. That's the attitude you have to have as an entrepreneur if you want to be successful.
Exactly. Well, speaking of, I'm curious, is there anything that stands out in your mind as something that was maybe, for lack of a better word, a failure or an obstacle or a big hiccup or something you ran into that at the time was pretty devastating, but then you were able to overcome it and it actually maybe turned into a win eventually? Anything like that stand out to you?
Well, yes. So see, for me, it's an undefined sort of thing. I generally check out of businesses when I become bored with them, when they
Sure.
become too predictable. Um, Not because I come across this insurmountable thing or this, the stumbling block. It's almost like when those big problems and the stumbling blocks disappear, things go on autopilot. That's when I lose interest in it. So, and I think that's part of that whole mindset that I'm talking about. It's just like, close your eyes, put your head down, and just run as hard and fast as you can into that wall. So, but setbacks that, yeah, I've had many things that have knocked me on my ass. I had a good thing going in drag racing. I was getting paid to go from car to car. I was like a hired tuner, wrench, just anything, like any. So let's say you've got these cars that are doing match races and national events and whatnot, and they all have crews of 4, 5, 6 people, and so when the clutch guy on this guy's car can't make it to an event, I would get the call and I would go be the clutch guy in that car. And then you get somebody who's setting up a fresh car someplace and they need somebody to get a baseline thing on there. I'd get paid to go out there and get a baseline on these cars. So I had a really good thing going. I paid a lot of dues. We had a lot of problems, a lot. That's the nature of the beast. But I was partners on a car, and we had cut a bunch of corners. We're a very low budget team, and we cut a bunch of corners, and we took chances with the car that shouldn't have been taken. And I had a driver in the car. So my partner was driving the car, and he was a bad driver. He had been on fire and exploded enough that he was very gun shy. So we needed somebody who was going to actually drive the car all the way through. So his kid wanted to drive the car, 18 years old. So we spent a year getting this kid acclimated to the car, taking it out, going 3 feet, then going 10 feet, then going right to get him used to it and all of that. And we had an incident. His first event, first run at the first national event, we put him in, and he ended up life flighted out of there. Yeah, and at that point, that was a brick wall for me. So if I have to look at it, if I have to look back on my life and say, okay, well, what was an unsurmountable obstacle that you says, okay, I can't do this. That was it. Because at that point I was responsible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not directly responsible. It's not like I left the bolts out and the car did this. No, we just took a lot of chances. We ran stuff that shouldn't have been run beyond the point that it should have. Does it make any sense?
Oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
and then I took this kid and stuck him in the car, and next thing I know, I'm pulling his fingers out of the bits of wreckage to give them to the EMTs so they could bring him to and I'm like, you know what? I've lost my taste for this.
yeah.
That was a brick wall. I walked away and I never, done.
Wow, interesting. Well, what was that like? What did that feel like? Just walking away? Like, what was your next step after that too?
It was a relief.
Okay.
It was a relief. Because I was pushing really hard for a lot of years. A lot of miles on the road, ultra high stress.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine.
So I don't know how my you know what pistons are?
Sure, a little bit, man. I'm like a novice car guy.
This is the kind of thing that this actually hit me.
Wow.
This is part of a piston that got tossed out of our car. I was standing 300 feet behind the car when it Hiroshimaed, and I got hit with that.
Dang. It could have been a lot worse.
Now. What's that?
It could have been a lot worse, but that's a cool souvenir.
So yeah, it was when obviously it bothered me that the kid got hurt, but putting an end to that whole chapter of my life was, a big relief. Big relief. But I left at the top of my game. I left when I was in demand. My phone was always ringing. I was getting paid top dollar for what I was doing. You know what I mean? So it's not like I left on a losing, I walked away at the top of my game. Very happy about that.
That's great. Well, I want to talk about Uncle Tony's Garage. I want to talk about your YouTube channel a little bit because, you've had success with that. And I think a lot of people watching, I think the target audience for this is people who are like considering what the next step is. Like maybe they've started a business and are struggling or they're still in the 9 to 5 and wondering what to do. And in this day and age, like being a content creator, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, I mean, that's a viable route for people, I mean, I think there's even like, I have a friend who has like middle school age kids, and there's like curriculums or classes for teaching you how to do like video editing for social media and stuff like that. Like it's becoming more ingrained as a part of our culture, and it's a viable career path. Like when at a time like where it never probably was before. So when did you start Uncle Tony's Garage?
So I had a shop called Mid-South Mopars. We were building cars. Chrysler products, Mopar, right? For the audience that doesn't understand what that is. And I made the mistake of going into this building on a month-to-month as opposed to a lease. So the landlord comes to me one morning and he says, "Hey, you got 30 days to get out." And I was, what? I was paying this guy, cash here every month, never missed, and not a minute late, right?
Yep.
And I go, what? He says, "Well, I sold the property. They're moving in first of the month." They use a scumbag.
Wow.
Actually, we shot a video of me, not deliberately, but the camera was rolling. Kathy was filming something when this transpired, and it was colorful. So, at any rate, I was out of that business, and I at that point I says, "I'm done with all of the hands-on car thing." I had many shops over the years, and I had a very successful parts business, selling parts for the vintage Chrysler products. And I says, "You know what? I'm just done with all of this." And this was about 10 years ago. So I liquidated everything. I got rid of I scrapped 67,000 pounds of metal, of parts. I got rid of everything, cleared. And I says, "You know what? I had success with doing the magazines, but I don't want to rest on previous success. I want to reinvent myself." So I never use my real last name on YouTube. It just became Uncle Tony.
Yep.
And I was Rob. I was actually stealing that from a guy named Uncle Rob.
That's awesome.
But there's actually a story behind this. I get to that in a second. So, we first tried a podcast, okay, and we did, I don't know, like 8 or 10 episodes, but it wasn't going anywhere. Podcasting, I don't know how it is today, right? But
It's brutal. It's like, well, I'm shifting niches. Let's just say I was in the whole, history, current events space, and it's like everybody's trying to do that these days. And I kind of lost interest in it. It's like I just want to talk about how to build a successful business, and maybe build a successful business along the way doing that. Because like part of this is what we're doing is we're building a school community. So anybody listening, join the school community below. It's going to be packed with courses and curriculums on all this stuff we're talking about today. But you know what I'm saying? But yeah, podcasting is brutal. You got to have use it as a means to make your offer. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like your lead magnet, basically. But yeah. So yeah.
Well, I looked at who was making money with podcasts, and this is the days before like Joe Rogan or anything like that. We did 8 or 10 episodes, and I was like, this ain't working. Yeah. And we tried Facebook, and there wasn't any money there. And I really didn't want to be on camera. I wanted to be behind the scenes. I wanted to be the editor, right? I wanted to be the controller and put other people in front of the camera, but I couldn't find anybody to be in front of the camera. So I had to do it myself. So, and that's where the Uncle Tony thing comes from. And I stole it from this guy named Uncle Rob. And the reason for that is because when we first started shooting videos, I was extremely uncomfortable in front of the camera. Okay. And I couldn't put more than one sentence out at a time. When I get nervous, I stutter. It's bad. I've become like, it's like a meltdown, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to put more than 2 sentences together in front of a camera. So there was a guy doing YouTube named Uncle Rob, and all of his videos were cut into like 1 sentence long edits, and it would always be and then. So he would be like, first, you take your glass, and then fill it with gasoline, and then light it. Okay, so he broke it up into these, and I says, oh wait, I could do it that way. So we started shooting videos where I would just speak a sentence and then do another one. So we would have like we did our first big video was everything you need to know about an Edelbrock carbon under a minute, and it was a 1 minute long video with like 8 edits in it, to cover it all, and that worked. And I stole the Uncle Rob. Okay, I'll be Uncle Tony, and that's where that came from.
That's awesome, man. So okay, so I'm looking at your channel here. It looks like you started in 2017, right? 2017, November.
We registered the channel at the same time we started doing the podcast, but didn't put any material on it until the next year, 2018.
Okay, so 2018. So 2018, and yeah, just exponential growth. Now, what would be your advice to somebody that's wanting to maybe try out being a YouTube content creator? Like, what's your biggest insights into that?
In over the last 2 years, really over the last year, it's become extremely difficult. It's not what it was, and that's because. So in my particular niche, and I'm sure it applies to others, but I can only really speak with authority over my world. Okay, so in the world of automotive YouTube, hot rod, muscle car, drag racing, that sort of thing, what we generally focus on. Some of the big production companies that were doing television closed down. Okay, and when they did, all of their names gravitated over towards YouTube. Now they follow a template of very long videos. So typical YouTube video is like going to be like 15 and like 22, 25 minutes long, someplace in that range, about typical. They stretch it out to an hour. And they're in like a pissing contest among themselves. You've got half a dozen of these guys that actually have names, and they're all in a pissing contest trying to outdo each other, and all putting out 1 hour and 2 hour long videos. So when you're dealing with a finite, space, automotive YouTube, there's only so many eyes with so many hours to consume what you're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it very difficult. I can handle that. It's no problem. I'm smarter than all those other guys, so I don't worry about that. But this year, AI has come into this space like the freaking white tornado, and it's just wiping out. Smaller channels are getting crushed, and I'm a smaller channel in the grand scheme of things. I'm not like Cletus McFarlane or Vice Grip Garage or anything like that. I'm a very small channel in comparison to those guys. But there's so much AI, and what the AI does is it takes my videos, everybody's videos, okay, and then rehashes them. So they take the topic and they throw it through the AI filter, and it literally takes your video word for word, but rearranges it so it no longer looks like your video or sounds like your video.
So you're saying they're literally stealing your content, redoing it, repurposing it, and put it out on their own, basically, with like like they alter your voice, or do they use your same voice, or
no, they use their. So what they'll do is they'll take. So if I do a video on this piston and talk about what it's made of and the damage that happened to it and blah blah blah. Okay, and I'll post that as a video. The AI will take a video and make a video about pistons and piston damage, and it'll do it'll rehash everything that I said, but in a different way.
Gotcha.
It'll cover it like in a different order. It'll use slightly different phrases. But when you create the original material, and you know that I'm the only person on this planet that knows the story behind this, and then here's AI, spitting out its version of it, you recognize your own work.
Wow.
Right. And it's not just to me, this is everybody in the space. If you have a successful video or a successful series of videos, There's AI channels that are they're everywhere. They're everywhere, and they steal a lot of views because, well, it's AI. Okay, you have to compete against the ultimate thumbnail creator. You have to compete against the ultimate title and description creator. You know, like you see what I'm saying? It's like you have to compete against an algorithm that's married to the algorithm.
Yeah.
And that has made life extremely difficult over the last year or two. So I can't complain. Like in other words, like it hasn't hurt my income, but views are definitely down.
Interesting.
Sub numbers stay consistent. We're always growing the same amount. Although I should say that January was our worst month in the last 7 years.
Okay.
It was. I think that was more my fault than anybody else. I think I just slacked off. You know, you burn out a little bit.
January was a tough month. I didn't even have power for like a week here. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, you had that whole deal up in Nashville, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nashville's rough for everybody, so I don't know. I wouldn't beat yourself up too much. It was like a cataclysm.
Oh,
I think half the country didn't have power. That's why no one was subscribing to YouTube.
I would have given you my generator, man.
No, we were good. We were good. I had battery backup, and my whole focus was keeping Margot warm. So yeah. So, but no, it was good. It was good. I'll just blame it on the weather.
So that's the thing about YouTube. If you want to get into the YouTube space now, you're going to face some very stiff competition.
Oh yeah.
Legacy media is imploding. Okay, nobody's watching streaming anymore. Nobody's watching, and all of the people who made their living off of those, shows, and they're all going to YouTube. YouTube is the beast. It's eating everything. Okay, all forms of media, and that's not going to change. There is nothing that is going to come along to top YouTube in our foreseeable future. I like the next step would have to be like 3D holographic. You know, it's going to have to be a technological revolution to replace YouTube. So it's still a good business, but it's a very, very, very difficult business right now.
Absolutely. Now that makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah. So I mean, you guys, you could take his lead. Just look at go to his channel, Uncle Tony's Garage. I'll leave links in the comments or in the episode description. You can go and just take a peek and see what's working there. I mean, you're getting great views. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's freaking awesome, man. All right, I want to shift gears just a little bit as we're kind of wrapping up the last little bit of the episode.
Okay, because I want to know if you wanted me to throw some tips out there for people.
Throw some tips. Yes, hit us.
All right. So keep in mind, I'm doing this for 8 years. Okay, full-time professional for 8 years, or during a period of time, I've started many channels that exist today. Most of them tapered off only because the people who were doing them burned out. But we've launched many successful channels. I've had probably at this point about 10 or 12 monetized channels that we got started. Okay. Here's what you need to know if you're going to start doing YouTube. Okay. The first is that nobody knows who you are. They don't have a clue. Okay. You need, if you're going to start doing this from scratch, right? You have to keep your videos very short and very tight, but don't do shorts. Everybody's like, oh yes, do shorts. They'll build your subscriber base. Subscriber numbers mean absolutely nothing. Just because you have subscribers doesn't mean they're going to click on your videos. Shorts don't count towards really any type of view time as far as so YouTube wants long form content, but they don't really make a definition for long form content. You want to keep your videos when you get started between 1 and 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops. And the reason for that is because as somebody is scrolling and they come across a topic, so your video is a topic they may be interested in, but they don't know you. If it's more than just a couple of few minutes, they're going to take a chance by clicking on you. All right. So in other words, like I don't know this guy. I've clicked on so many channels that he had no personality, or it was just nonsense, or it was just an ad. I'm not going to invest 10 minutes, 15 minutes in this. I have to sit through a commercial to get through it. You let it pass. But if it's a 1 to 3 minute video, people will give you that chance. They're like, this is not a big investment. I'll give it a shot. And they'll sit through that 10-minute or 10-second opening, commercial, 5 seconds, whatever it is, and they'll give you a chance. So until you're established, until you've started to build subscribers and a name for yourself, keep the videos short, direct, to the point. Don't do any sort of intros. Nobody cares about the fancy graphics and your logo and your intro and the song and all of that. No, it's not done 1860s. You're not doing the Tonight Show, right? They just, when you click on it, as soon as somebody clicks on your video, boom, you should be talking. It's already rolling. There's already action happening, and dead air is the enemy of new YouTubers, right? No pauses, right? If it's a 3-minute video, edit it down so that from the minute the camera's on you until it clicks away, it's constant. You're always talking, you're always moving, you're not giving anybody a chance to click away, right? Now that's important because the algorithm respects view duration. It doesn't care if your video is a minute long or an hour long. It's how long the viewer stayed in proportion. That's view duration. So if you can get a viewer to sit there for 2 of your 3-minute video, that's a 66% view duration. You're doing really good. Now the algorithm will start sharing that video because you hooked viewers. And that's all the algorithm really cares about, is that you're going to hook viewers and keep them there so they can watch ads. So those things are very, very important. Once you've got to the 1,000 subscriber mark, now you can be monetized. And now you're going to stretch your videos out to 8 minutes, because at 8 minutes, that's where you get a mid-roll. And then your CPM starts to kick up from there. So you may only get, let's say, and it depends on the space. I happen to be in a very high-paying space, automotive YouTube. But it's where you'll go from, let's say, $2 for every 1,000 views to $20 for every 1,000 views. Well, at 8 minutes, probably $10 per 1,000 views, and you get 55% of that. So it can start to add up, right? At 1,000 subs, you get monetized, you get your AdSense account, and now you go to 8 minutes, you reap the full benefits of that. And then once you get to where you're really established, you're in the 30, 40, 50,000 sub zone, now you start setting your videos out longer. Now you go for 17 minutes, 20 minutes, 22 minutes, like that, because you've got a core audience that is following you, right? And they're just interested in anything you have to say. And at that point, they'll stick around for, you're gonna sit there and yap for an hour. A lot of people are gonna sit and watch you yap for an hour. And that's the step-by-step building of a YouTube channel.
That's super helpful, man. Part of what I was planning on doing with this, like one of the things I failed with in podcasting is like taking the time to make clips of the shows. Cause I know that is where all the power is like then for you repurpose that on social media. So what I'm planning on doing is, dropping an episode and then making a series of like 3 to 5 minute clips on the YouTube channel to supplement the video itself. So that's kind of along the lines of what we're talking about, but then there'll be an hour-long video sitting there too. So hopefully YouTube doesn't knock me too much for that, but that's great advice, man. That's really, really good stuff. That's going to be a clip right there. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, good. I hope I can help people.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, you're a huge help. So just the last little bit that I do want to get into is just like overall mindset. So I want you to think of the person sitting there hating their 9-to-5 job. Maybe they work at like a bank or somewhere in a cubicle. What would be your words of wisdom to that person? And they're desperate. They're trying to break free. They're trying to pivot into something that they're passionate about, that they can do, where they can be their own boss, where they can fire themselves from their own job and say, I'm done with this job. What would be your words of wisdom speaking directly to that person?
That's hard. That's really hard. I mean, yeah, I could spit out all kinds of cliche things. If you could dream it, you could be it, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to coat anybody's cornflakes with shit like that. I don't know. First, I can't identify. I tell you why I can't answer that question there, because I can't identify with it, because I've never had that kind of job.
Sure. Okay, how about this? How about somebody who is who's just starting out down the entrepreneurial road? Let's say they got a side hustle and they're looking to scale it and replace their and have that be their main income. Somebody who's already on the path, somebody who's hungry, diligent, and just needs like a pep talk. What would be your words of wisdom to that person?
Um, so self-doubt is the thing that will always hold you back, and that self-doubt is always reinforced by people around you. Human nature. It's like as soon as you start to break from the pack, as soon as you start to do anything that's that's different, that's exceptional, that's successful, everybody surrounding you will start to throw things at you to kind of hold you back. Like for instance, when we started doing YouTube, we started to gain a little traction, and all of these people who were our friends and people we talked to on a regular basis, they all drifted away because it's like, you know, and then the trolls come. Oh, and the trolls are crazy. I actually had a channel that for 5 years, thereabouts 5 years, he posted a video every single day about me.
Wow.
Okay, and he had a following. So no matter what video I put out, he would put out a video talking about how I don't know what I'm talking about. This guy's a retard. This guy. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. He was completely obsessed. And then he built a crew. He had as my channel grew, so did his, and he had this whole tribe of trolls, and they would jump in my comments. They jump in every video. Everybody in the space comments talking about how much of an asshole I was, and oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he makes all of this stuff up, and blah blah blah. The craziness. This is something that you're going to have to, if you want to step out into the world of entrepreneurship. Put the 9 to 5 out of your head, and go this path. You have to understand that you're going to be constantly barraged with negativity. Most people who do it don't do it consciously. It's just subconscious. It's like this competition thing. It's like, I'm miserable in my routinely daily life. I'm miserable dealing with my boss. I'm miserable being behind the 8 ball all the time. And this guy is getting ahead and he's not miserable, right? And so you have to be prepared for that. Anytime you show success, and it's not just in YouTube, right? It's in business in general. Anytime you have success, there's going to be haters. And those haters are going to be the people who you least expect them to be. They're going to be your family. They're going to be your parents. They're going to be your kids. They're going to be your neighbors. They're going to be your cousins. They're going to be your best friend. They're going to be everybody. You never know where it's going to come from, but it's going to come after you. And that's something that you're going to have to ride through. And I've been through this so many times. I've had many trips to the wishing well, between all my various individual businesses, the coffee houses, drag racing. I've had many trips to the wishing well. It's the only way I could explain it. And every single one of them had the same pattern, followed the same pattern. And Gandhi, this is so true. This is so true. Anybody who wants to step out of the box, listen to this, okay? All right. First, they laugh at you, okay? Then they fight you. Then you win.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
If I had to give any advice to anybody that's attempting to step out of the box, understand that phrase, that cliche. And so that was Gandhi's version of it. There were a couple different versions of it, but that's the one. First they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And I have been through this in every single venture I have ever gotten involved in. And in 100%, it plays out exactly the same way every time. It's like one of those laws of nature. It's like the Pareto principle, or Pareto ratio. It's like every single thing, doesn't matter what you do. So if you're prepared for that and you welcome that and you say, go ahead, laugh at me, motherfucker, right? Excuse me, I don't know if
you're good. Go for it. It's all uncensored here.
And it's like, fight me. Come on, let's go, right? You have to enter this with the attitude of, I will fight you. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And stand that ground. All right. And then you will have a chance at being successful. But if you fold easily, if you have thin skin, if you have self-doubt, any sort of complexes like that, do yourself a favor and just stay in a routine, because it breaks people. It breaks a lot of people, and it breaks them before they get a chance to actually step out there. You have to genuinely not care, right? You have to care about your mission. You know what I mean? You obviously have to care about your mission, but you have to not care about the attitudes or the input of anybody around you. Just tune them out. They're irrelevant. You keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. Yeah, the haters are gonna hate, but you can use that as fuel to just level up. It's like, give it to me. It's like almost like just any adversity. It's the anti-fragile mentality where it's like I don't see adversity and then I run the opposite direction. I run straight in, and I'm like the opposite of fragile, where it's like I'm
fight me.
I don't break. I get stronger with that sort of mentality. So that's great. But then also you can look at it from the sense of, sometimes our biggest critics, and you were saying self-doubt, is ourselves. And so when that creeps in, I have to push back just as hard with that. Like if I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. I'm not able to do this. Like perfect example for me right now, something that I'm learning where the vulnerabilities in my systems are. So the first being, this new business venture, I was like, where am I going to get leads? I have no idea where to find customers. I'm cold calling. I'm just doing cold outreach. I'm pulling up onto construction job sites, introducing myself as like a, construction video marketer, blah, blah, blah. And, I had a little bit of success. I was like, hey, I'll do you a free video for you guys, and then go from there. Anyway, then I figured it out. I joined this mentorship program for running paid ads. And now I get like 1 to 2, maybe like I've gotten like 3 leads today. So now I've got leads coming in. So now I'm doing these sales meetings, and I'm like, oh, my sales process isn't really that tight. So I need to really figure out a sales system. You know what I mean? And so like, just like a syntax, something that I can walk the customers through that ultimately leads to a closed sale. So I was having some self-doubt. I was like, oh no, but now I'm just like, no, I just need to be a killer when it comes to closing sales. That's it. I just do everything I can about that. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just immersing myself in that right now.
Let me share a story that maybe because it's right along the lines of what you're talking about, but it kind of simplifies it into an actual thing that happened.
Yeah.
I told you, when I get bored with a business or an endeavor, I walk away from it. Yep. And I generally do it without a safety net. Although, very important. Okay. Yep. And this goes back to something else entirely. I realized at one point when I was about 20 years old, I said, I will never be helpless. Okay. I'll be broke, but I will never be helpless again. And the only way you could do that is actually have some money. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when I was about 21 years old, I says, this is in 1981, 1982, where I said, do the adjusted for inflation. I said to myself, I will never be broke again. I'm going to take $10 every single day, hell or high water, and I'm going to put it aside until I got $1,000. And I did that every day. Even if I didn't make the money, I would borrow $10 to make it, right? Didn't make it. If I had to steal it, it didn't make any difference. Religiously, every day, I put $10 aside until I got to $1,000. And I said, I will never, ever touch this, right? Because as long as I have this, I'm not helpless. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. A couple of years later, had a kid, and now the ante went up. It was $1,000 wasn't going to cut it anymore, so I raised it to $10,000. And I says, no matter what, I will never touch this money. If I have to go rob liquor stores to, you know what I mean, I will do that before I touch this money, because I am not helpless as long as I have that money. So here we are. I'm 63, going to be 64 years old. I have never touched that money. That's awesome. I rolled it into different things, but tangible assets, right? Gold, silver.
Yep.
But I have never touched it, and I never will. So that's one of those things. Is like, even if you're flying without a safety net, you create your own safety net that way. It's just this thing that sits in the back of your head that says, I don't care if it all comes apart, I have this resource. And that gives you incredible confidence. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Incredible confidence.
Yeah, that's great.
But the story I wanted to tell real quick about getting a business started. So through the course of my life, I go in and out of different things. I get bored of something and try something new. And I exited one business and didn't have a stepping stone to another. And I was like, okay, we're broke now again, right? So, and I didn't touch the savings, but we're broke, having a hard time doing everything here, and I have no business, no flow. So what I would do, and I did this for about a month. Okay, I went to the Staten Island Mall. All right, the parking lot of the Staten Island Mall, and at the time that was huge. You know, every parking space was full. There were thousands of cars all around there, right? And I would go there and I would wait until around sundown, right? Uh, and especially on rainy days. And I would wait and you'd see people leave their lights on. Okay. So what I would do is hang around and take note of where those cars were. And there was always, in this parking lot, there was always at least one car, two cars that would have their headlights left on. Okay. And I would wait. And when they would come out to go start their car, the battery's dead, I would walk over, I'd ride over, I'd give them a jump, right? And then say, you know, of course they thank you or they try to pay you, or whatever it happens to be. And I would say, no, here, just take my number. If you need any repair work, let me know.
That's so genius. That's your perfect little lead magnet right there. That's hilarious.
It worked like gangbusters. And I built myself a really nice little mechanical business that lasted for a few years based on the roots there, because you're doing people a genuine favor. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And you're not charging them, and they're like grateful. Oh yeah, you're a good guy here. And that's the other thing too, like honesty. If you're going to be in business, it doesn't matter what kind of business it is. If you can't be honest with what you do, if you can't sell the customer a product at a good value, you know, if there's no equity there, you know, like there has to be equity. You know, they getting something out of it, some kind of deal. You're getting something out of it, some kind of profit. If your only motivation is just to make money, you'll never make money. It'll never happen. People won't identify with you. People watch my videos. My channel has grown because I genuinely want whoever is watching this video to get something out of it, right? So you're either going to learn a new skill, or you're going to learn an oddball fact, or you're going to get some entertainment out of it, or whatever it happens to be, whatever the topic of the video is. You're going to get something out of it. And that's my primary concern. I don't care if it makes money. I don't care if it gets views. I care that while I'm making that video, whoever watches that video is going to get something out of it.
Yep, that's it. You deliver value, and you'll go far and solve people's problems and relieve their pain. And that's really that's what business is. People have problems that they're willing to pay money to get rid of. And when I was saying earlier, like, I want to be a killer when it comes to closing sales, what I mean by that is, like, I'm very confident in my service and its ability to take away people's pain and solve their problems and make them money. And so the sales process is really just a matter of educating them and getting them to understand the value that I'm bringing. So that's what I mean by that. And then there's like a process to get them there. So I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And these conversations are so inspiring and so motivating. And so Tony, I just really want to thank you for being here with me today. So we got UncleTony'sGarage.com. We got the YouTube. Everything's going to be in the episode description. Anything else you want to leave for the people, where to follow you, how to support you?
I got plenty of support. I'm good.
Awesome.
If you're into cars, check out the channel.
There you go.
Thanks. You know, I enjoy having these conversations. I've learned a lot of stuff, and you know, I hate the idea of just taking it all to the dirt nap with me. So it's like, here, have information. You know, I do a lot of videos, very in-depth videos. I put information out there that literally are the secrets that the pros keep, right? I put them all out there. It's like, oh, I don't want no secrets. I'm going to teach you. You're going to watch my videos. You're going to learn the nitty gritty science about, you know, hot rodding, engines, the whole bit that nobody will ever tell you, because these are the secrets of the industry. So
that's awesome. Okay, the secrets of the industry, folks. Go get it at Uncle Tony's Garage. So, dude, Tony, thank you, man. We'll catch up. If there's anything you want to talk about specifically when it comes to building a business, entrepreneurship, mindset, all that stuff, I'd love to have you back anytime.
Oh, you let me know anytime. You know, I mean, we're friends. I'm cool sitting here and bullshit with you all night. You know,
sounds good, man. Awesome. Well, Tony, thank you so much, and we will catch up with you soon. Everybody, if you want to go down to the link below, you'll see the link to the school community. Go join. It's free. We're going to be dropping all kinds of content on there, so make sure you go join us there.
Do it.
And share the show, and let's keep this baby going. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.